How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Sorry, I saw the camera. I didn't realize my camera wasn't on.
No
Good
worries.
to see you again.
Tuesday feels like a Monday, right?
Exactly, this week.
So let's kick it off, Cynthia. I've been so excited to have you, and you and I got a chance to spend some time together and talk a little bit about what you're doing at Walmart Plus. But I'd love for you to share with the audience a little bit more about your role at Walmart.
Of course, the teams that I oversee are the teams that are providing support for what we call services at Walmart. So if you think about a retail organization, most of the marketing we do is to talk about what we sell. My team doesn't do that. We support the areas that enable how we sell it. So there's three teams. One of them is the mobile team. The other one is online grocery. And the third one is Walmart Plus, our membership program that we just launched. And the three teams have pretty distinct areas of responsibility. The mobile team works a lot with our product organization to make sure that the user experience is the right one, omni-channel. It's a little bit of product marketing and a lot of growth marketing. The online grocery is about marketing our online pickup and delivery services, which, as you can imagine, with COVID became super, super popular. And Walmart Plus is super new. So I have a new team that is helping define what the membership is going to look like and the go-to-market testing and optimizing the go-to-market of something that has never been done before for a company like Walmart. So very different stages of teams and very different day-to-days, I would say, for my three teams.
Yeah, that's an amazing scope, Cynthia. And I love the way you framed it. It's not what you sell, but it's how you sell it. So Walmart Plus really feels like a startup in the middle of an enormous company. And I am a Walmart Plus member.
Good.
I will vouch for that. But tell me, how do you drive innovation given the scale of a company launching something new in the middle of a pandemic? How did you approach it?
So we were actually planning to launch Walmart Plus before the pandemic. Of course, we're not as fast to launch something as big because of COVID. It just happened that it was positioned in a way that was very relevant for life during COVID. So let me tell you a little bit about, like I hear two questions in your question. One of them is, how do we stay like nimble and how do we innovate in a large company? And then the second question, I'll answer it later, about how, like, what did we have to do because of COVID? What are the changes that we did? The first one is, how do you innovate in a company like Walmart? And I've worked in big companies and in startups, and it's not that different. So the first thing that I've learned is I'm always very upfront with the resources that I need, because when you work in an area that is a priority for the company and that you know that they are going to give you the resources you need, you just have to be upfront, because the worst that can happen is that you can't deliver on the plans because you didn't plan for your resources. So I'm very upfront. I say, these are the teams that I need. This is the data that I need to be able to activate. This is how often I need this data. So I spend a lot of time in the beginning thinking about it. But the tricky part is that I don't exactly know what I need at that point. So I try to keep it general enough that it gives me the flexibility to make changes based on how things are evolving. An example of that is like hiring the team. Like I don't know what I don't know at the moment that we're building a team. I don't know exactly if, for example, do I need a performance marketer that is an expert in SEM, or do I actually need somebody that is gonna help me activate the stores? Pretty different skill set, right? Mm-hmm. So I've learned to hire people with a growth mindset, not necessarily people with deep hard skills on something that at that moment may look like that's exactly what I need, because things may change and in 6 months I need somebody with a different profile. So I look for people that have growth mindset. I try to drive clarity in terms of what the North Star is, and then how we get there can change. It doesn't matter as long as we know where we're going. I think the problem is when you don't know where you're going, then it doesn't matter if you draw the road there, like if the destination hasn't been agreed upon. So I try to drive a lot of clarity at the executive level for that. And then from a data point of view, for us, it has been very important to have access to the right data as often as we need it, so we can make decisions. We make decisions much faster than in any other parts of the organization, because we don't have the luxury of, let's do a campaign and wait a couple of weeks to see if it's working. We need to see if it's working the day that we launch it, try to consult, to gather, to get to scale as quickly as possible, so we can pivot quickly if it's not working out. So we have had to work with our analytics partners and engineering partners to build those pipelines, so we have access to data in as much of a real time as possible, which is not something that a larger organization needs that much. So we've had to do that. And then the other one is we A/B test all the time. And if my experience is an example for anyone in small or big companies, A/B testing, it's not as straightforward as it sounds. Like, many times A/B tests are not set up correctly, or you don't reach scale fast enough, so you actually can't read the results, or you do an A/B test and it looks like both tests perform the same, like the control and the test. So for us, it has been very important to work closely with our analytics partners to really set them up correctly, have clean control groups, so we can use the data to pivot as much as we can. So that's how I've approached setting up startup within a bigger organization. And then to your second question, like, how did we change our plans? I mean, think about the fact that with COVID, a little over a year ago, let's say it's February last year. So COVID wasn't a thing, right? Nobody was thinking we were going to go on lockdown. Online grocery it was growing, but it wasn't skyrocketing. It was growing at a good pace. We were able to manage supply and demand pretty consistently. And most of our marketing spend was on upper funnel, convincing people you can order groceries online. Somebody else can pick up the groceries for you. You're not necessarily the best avocado picker in the world. Somebody else can pick avocados for you. And with a flip of a switch, we had to move our budget from upper funnel to lower funnel, because nobody needed convincing that online grocery was worth trying. They just needed to know where to go for online grocery, where the products that they were looking for were available, where they could get a slot, because we were actually selling out. So our strategy had to shift from upper funnel to lower funnel, from national to more surgical, and just driving the demand where we could actually fulfill that demand.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love the fact that you talk about, you asked for a lot of things up front, because I think for many marketers, there's often this demand that you need to sort of know and anticipate everything, and you really can't. You have to be agile, and you have to be able to make those pivots when you need to. Our topic today is really around readiness. And, we all know digital transformation has accelerated more now than ever. How have you really helped your teams adjust to this? Because everyone's working from home, so we're all in these wonderful little boxes, and we don't have the chance to be in office collaborating. But how have you really managed this with your teams to make sure they're prepared for what comes next, even though you may not know what that might be?
I mean, as I mentioned before, it all started with recruiting, and I was, I guess, fortunate enough in the case of Walmart Plus to be able to recruit the team during COVID. So I already had that lens of, I need people that have a growth mindset, and I need people that are comfortable with the speed at which we're operating. I don't know if everybody is going through the same, but we are probably more connected than we were before, because we're in email and in Slack and in Zoom and in text, and we're over communicating. So the type of people that I brought to this team were people that were comfortable with that pace. We did hire people that have, in the case of Walmart Plus, startup experience and big company experience. For me, it was important to hire people that could operate in a big company like Walmart, because it's very cross-functional, and it's very collaborative, and you have to be able to sell your vision and bring an organization with you. But on the other hand, we needed people that were comfortable with job descriptions that were a little bit ambiguous, like I can write a job description today, but in 6 months it may look a little bit different. So I needed people that were comfortable with that ambiguity. The next one is over communication. I mean, we noticed pretty early on that the changes, when we didn't communicate them quickly and we didn't communicate the why for the changes, we would see the trickle down effects of that. For example, if we would change the date when something launched or how we speak about something, if we didn't explain it to everyone, not just to the people that were actually executing on that, but the rest of the team that were going to have to somehow live with those changes, they didn't take the change the same way, and ultimately it didn't translate into what we were actually hoping for when we made those changes. So we over communicate. We don't only say what we're changing, but we're saying why that change is happening. And the last one is we use roadmaps the same way that product and engineering organizations have roadmaps. I don't know if everybody here is familiar with the concept of stack ranking, but basically we create a stack rank in which we put how much value is something gonna bring to the program and how much effort is it gonna take to build it. And then we all agree on, okay, these are the things that we're going to be prioritizing right now. It's a mix of art and science, because if you just use the science, you end up doing the things that are high value and low effort, but you don't always have a lot of those. So once we agree on what are we going to prioritize, then whenever something changes, instead of just adding it to the roadmap at the bottom, we review the roadmap and say, okay, this is going to get on top of something else that is going to go down. We can't just continue adding things on top of our roadmap that is already pretty packed. So we all align on, if A is added to the roadmap, then B is leaving the priority of this quarter or of this month or of this week. And again, going back to my previous point, over communicate what changed from the roadmap and why did it change. So there's alignment.
So, that ability to constantly prioritize, but reprioritize, as you talked about in the stack ranking, was really critical. Launching this in the middle of a pandemic couldn't have been easy. What things did you learn from it that you're now moving forward as we start to emerge from the pandemic?
I mean, the pandemic gave us different behaviors. People behave differently than they behaved before. Like things that I didn't expect now seem pretty obvious, but at that time I wasn't sure that was going to happen. Is people weren't looking as much for the lowest prices. They were actually looking for the products that they were willing to drive longer, to pay a little bit more, and as long as they could get a slot or as long as they could get a contactless experience. So from a marketing perspective, we use dynamic content optimization, and we've always had assets that talk about prices and assets that talk about contactless and assets that talk about how fast you can receive your products. And we started seeing that whenever we spoke about contactless, it started performing better than before. So we had to become a little bit faster in bringing the insights that we were getting from our lower funnel efforts higher in the funnel, right? Because if we know lower in the funnel, people are reacting well to something like contactless, how do we bring that as fast as possible to our upper funnel instead of like waiting for 3 months until we have the insights from a TV campaign? Like that's too late. So people started behaving differently, and we were able to capture that data because we have full funnel campaigns, and at the bottom of the funnel, the insights we get them really fast, and we found ways to implement them full funnel and especially higher in the funnel quicker because we had that approach of full funnel. That's one example.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. It's amazing how much data is in this process. At Jellyfish, when we talk about digital transformation, we look at 4 key pillars: people, data, technology, and creativity. You've obviously talked a lot about people. Recruiting the right team is everything. And you talked a little bit about data, but tell me, how does technology and creativity play a role for you?
I mean, you need the technology to have the data, right? Because especially in an omni-channel world, like I don't think that any retailer is going to be successful if they don't have an omni-channel approach right now. I mean, I don't know if everybody here is aware, but at Walmart, we actually now have an omni-channel organization. Like many companies, we used to have .com or like an e-commerce and a retail organization. I think a lot of companies still operate that way. We don't. For us, it's all about the customer. It's all about how, in any way, the customer wants to engage with us. Without the right technology, we cannot have access to the right data. And for us, the right data is every interaction you have with our brand or with our partners, no matter where that interaction is. And then how do we use that technology to digest the data? Because we have way too much data, which can be a problem too, right? Like what do we do if we have all the interactions that you have with Walmart in store and online? And if you think about the amount of services that Walmart sells, it's really complex. We don't only sell groceries. We don't only sell general merchandise. You can actually service your car at Walmart. You can get glasses at Walmart. You can get something installed, a car seat, you can have it installed in your car. So all of these data points help us create a persona so we can predict and help you in your next interaction with Walmart. And there's way too much data, so the technology actually allows us to use the data in a smart way. And then when it comes to creativity, I mean, it all comes down to how flexible is our marketing. How can we personalize marketing as much as possible without having to manually create every touch point? And I mean, as I mentioned before, we're doing a lot of dynamic content optimization. So putting the data that the technology gives us and the creative that is flexible enough really allows us to do marketing that is as personalized as possible. And every time I A/B test personalized content, personalized creative versus just standard batch creative, it always outperforms the batch. So I think it's pretty proven that personalization works, but it's all a matter of, are you using the right data and are you deploying it in the right channels to the right people?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think every retailer now has become omni-channel, and that has become critical. It's more about, where are you delivering these messages and how are you delivering value to your customers? One thing I love that you said was that, you're all about the customer. Talk to me about what does the customer feedback process at Walmart look like?
I mean, we have a lot of the standard ways of gathering feedback. We have focus groups, we have surveys, pre, during, post transactions, and we get a lot of those insights summarized by our teams. But actually, what I think it's more useful, Sharon, to be honest, it's to actually interact with them in person. I was in one of our stores this Friday, and I spent the entire day there with my team, specifically looking at how the online pickup and delivery business operates, like how our associates receive the orders, pick the orders, fulfill them, what's their interaction with the customers. I was speaking to customers about their experience, and I don't think there's anything more powerful than speaking to customers. Of course, it's qualitative and you can't make decisions based on that. So I always, use data, use quantitative insights. But to me, being like on the field, speaking one-on-one with your customers, it's something that's sometimes it's overlooked and it's really powerful. And if you can get people in your organization to embrace that and to do it systematically, I think it's excellent. So we do it. We're going to start doing it more often. I think I learned more that last Friday than I've learned reading, I don't know how many decks and being in I don't know how many Zooms, seeing decks talking about customer feedback.
So is there anything you can share that you learned from your store visit?
Yeah, well, I think what I learned specifically was the complexity of, there's a lot of things that we're trying to fix from the experience. And I was able to understand why some of those things are harder to fix than I thought. Not just because I was talking to the customers, but because I was talking to our associates. And I was able to understand the complexity behind it. So some of that, for example, was the amount of messages that we're trying to convey. When I was trying to convey them to a customer and say, hey, do you want to join Walmart Plus? As I was talking to them, I thought, you know what? I think we need probably a simpler way to talk about it. It's not that easy to talk about it with somebody that's in a rush, that they just want to take their order and they want to leave. And doing it myself, putting myself in the shoes of the associate that is talking to a customer, allowed me to understand the state of mind in which the customer is at that specific moment. The specific moment I'm talking about is when somebody is waiting to pick up an order, and an associate is bringing the order to them to their car and is suggesting the person to join Walmart Plus. How much time do they have to sell Walmart Plus? They don't have minutes, they have seconds. So how can that interaction happen? Like how much can you say in a few seconds? What can you give them? Like right now, you can't give them anything in person. No, hand by hand, they're not gonna take a flyer, right? Because of COVID. So it allowed me to really think about how to streamline that touch point. And then another thing that I thought was really interesting to me was to see how many of our customers go to the store with their kids, and how stressful a shopping trip to the grocery store can be when you have a toddler sitting on the cart, and how waiting in line to check out can become a really stressful moment, and how Walmart Plus can actually make all of that experience better. We launched Scan and Go, and we have all the technology to make the experience better, but seeing it in real life and seeing how a meltdown of a toddler can impact your shopping experience allowed me to put myself better in the shoes of the customer.
Well, I'm sure many parents will be quite happy if you can make that an easier process. I've seen many a toddler have a meltdown in Walmart, I must say. So
it happens more
time
than you think. Yeah, it's a stressful time.
It's definitely a stressful time. Well, Cynthia, we've got some questions from the audience, so I'm going to start to kick this off and then come back. The first question that comes in is, what are the biggest challenges and enablers in realizing the vision of your marketing strategy and transformation goals over the next 12 to 36 months? That's a pretty meaty question, so I'll repeat it. What are the biggest challenges and enablers in realizing the vision of your marketing strategy and transformation over the next year to 3 years?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is going to be to tell the story of where we're going when we don't necessarily have launched everything we're going to launch. So, for example, if you think about our North Star, we know where we're going and we know how to get there, but I can't overpromise, right? Like I can't start talking about the vision that is going to happen in the future, but I have to start hinting to it. So there's some kind of thread that positions the Walmart Plus brand in a way that feels consistent, that since day one that we launched with free delivery from your store until years from now that we're going to have a much more robust membership program, how do we position the program in a way that it's still the same marketing strategy and it's still the same positioning, even though the RTVs, the benefits that are included in the program are not the same. There's going to be one benefit. Well, we launched with 3 benefits and we're going to add more, and more. And there should be a thread that puts it together. So that's from a storytelling perspective, I think it's a challenge. In membership programs, there's always, I think, a tension between how much you want to communicate in marketing and how much do you want to just let people discover on their own, right? We won't ever be saying Walmart Plus is XYZ, like there's 20 benefits or whichever number. We're always going to be talking about the hero benefit. But the hero benefit, it's not all there is to Walmart Plus. There's other things. So for us, that's the other challenge. How do we balance talking about what will bring people to Walmart Plus without forgetting that there's a lot of other benefits and perks that people should know about, they should use, they are going to impact their life. And we're launching them because they asked us to launch them. So we're not, even though we can say, here's a list of all the benefits and here's our this is our marketing, a list of 20 benefits. How do we balance? What do we talk about versus what do we let them discover?
Okay, awesome. Another question from the audience. What are the primary objectives you've set for yourself and for your teams?
I mean, for us, we really have a dream and a vision to help people save time so they can live better. Walmart has historically been a company that has focused on saving money so you can live better, right? Like it's save money, live better. That's our tagline. Now, we want to add saving time, and it's all with a bigger purpose of people using that time and using those resources that they're not spending, resources as money or time, doing the things that matter to them. And we're launching benefits that should help them make the most out of life. And we're launching like all the marketing that we do is to actually tell them, like, you could be doing something else with your 2 hours or 3 hours a week that you spend going grocery shopping. Let us do the heavy lifting and enjoy your life. It used to be very, I mean, I think it still is, but it's becoming less, that being busy was a badge of honor. Like people like talking about how busy you are. People would ask you in the beginning of the week, how is your week? Oh, I'm so busy, to make us feel important, right? And the newer generations don't feel that way, thankfully. And they're actually willing to look for solutions that will help them not feel that busy. We want to be the enabler for them to not feel that busy and to make the most out of the resources that they have.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I will attest to it being a time
yes,
saver.
Right?
Being
Me
on
too, as a customer.
All day and being able to put in my order and, you know, have it delivered does save a lot of time. And also just, I think for many of us, it's just been a total change in behavior that has actually allowed me to save money because I'm very specific about what goes on that list as opposed to
exactly. We're seeing that
extra stuff. So it's
people
a good
can't believe that. I mean, we have with Walmart Plus, we don't mark up the items. You still get Walmart prices. Honestly, I think it's a fantastic value proposition, but it's online grocery is one of the last frontiers for online shopping.
Oh, no, that's quite a statement. Online grocery is one of the last frontiers for online shopping. All right, so I guess he who wins grocery wins. So I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes.
I've got more questions for you. You touched on this earlier about the changes in consumer behavior during COVID, you know, from increased delivery to disruptions in loyalty. What behavioral shifts do you think are permanent?
I mean, I think people will continue, if they already tried online grocery shopping, they will continue using it, but not as much in terms of, if they need some small purchase, they will go back to the store. We're seeing them going back to the store. So that's one thing. I don't know that people will be so obsessed with seeing an ad that says curbside. Prices are gonna go back to being an important decision factor. What else is gonna stick? I mean, I think once you try online grocery, it's hard to go back to going to doing all your purchases in person, right? You know it.
Yes.
Would you go back to do your weekly grocery trip in store?
Not as much. I mean, the only time I actually, and I will say, the only time I do go in is if I'm looking for something, but I'm not sure. Like I really need to look at multiple products on the shelf, or since I live in Georgia, I'm all for peach season and I'm dying to see the varieties of peaches at the store in person. But once I get the hang of it, no, I don't really see it because it's given me back hours, during my week that I didn't have.
But you know what, Sharon, what you said is very interesting. The discovery. I think e-commerce has done a really good job at fixing shopping. Like you can shop very quickly. Like there's all this technology to add to cart from the PDP. Like you can really be in and out very quickly if you know what you want. The discovery piece is something that's still being worked on. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of innovation in the next years with content to commerce, like shortening the distance between inspiration and purchases with live streaming, with like what we see in China, with our partners, our editorial content partners, really helping people discover when they're not sure what they're going to buy. And also on our side, we have a lot of personalization, like recommendations, predictive baskets, that the more data we have and the better we use the technology, we're going to make your discovery experience better. So then you won't have to even go for the discovery.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing that, because I know that there's been a lot of talk about how you're going to use, our augmented reality, create more virtual experiences for the shopper, because discovery is still that one terrain that most people haven't really cracked well. I've got some more questions for you. How are you determining success, and how is your organization set up to use the information to impact future initiatives?
In terms of, can you clarify?
So, well, I'll speak for whoever answered the question. If that person's type a little bit more, how are you really measuring success? Obviously, we talked about whoever wins grocery wins in the retail space, but are there other measures of success that you're looking for?
So, I mean, it's basically customer delight, right? Are we delighting our customers? And we measure it by, are they coming back? Ultimately, you can have leading indicators, and but the lagging indicator is customer retention. It's not market share of wallet. Actually, are they buying more from you from the same categories? Are they buying more from different categories? So depth and breadth of wallet. The first indicator that we normally see is going to be like NPS, if they answer the surveys and if they're having a good experience. But that is only a leading indicator to what ends up happening later on, which is, are they coming back? Are they buying more from you? Are they recommending you to their friends, to their family? So for us, like, referral is super important. When people have a good experience, they tell others about us. So ultimately, it's all about retention and share of wallet.
Okay, great. One last question from the audience. What's one thing you wish you were doing more of, and what's preventing you from getting there today?
Well, I think it's hard in COVID, but I wish I had more time to take a step back with my team and brainstorm strategies and challenge ourselves. There's an exercise that I've been meaning to do, and we actually haven't been able to do, which is it's a postmortem exercise, not postmortem of a project, but actually I'm really keen on doing a postmortem of what if our program doesn't work? Like, imagine it's, I don't know, some years from now, and we're saying we're closing Walmart Plus. It didn't work out. We didn't succeed. What prevented us from succeeding with Walmart Plus? Because I think the team thinks about it a lot, but we don't spend the time talking about it enough, because number one, we're running the business, we're running the marketing program, and number two is something that's a little bit hard to do remotely. So I'm really keen on, let's get in a room, let's turn off our computers, let's turn off our phones, and let's just talk about what could go wrong and how do we prevent it. I think it's gonna happen pretty soon. So if anybody in my team is watching, we're doing it.
All right. Well, I hope someone from your team is watching, and they're eagerly awaiting this. So what do you think's next for physical retail? If you believe that customers have really made this monumental shift to online, what happens in physical retail?
Well, I think there's no physical retail, there's omni-channel. So what is the role of the store? It's gonna be different per person, and it's gonna be different per trip. I can tell you that using technology to make the store experience better, it's super exciting, and there's a lot that hasn't happened, right? Like we have some technology, and we're seeing other companies using also technology in interesting ways. For example, at Walmart, if you go into the store, you can use what we call store vault, that tells you what's the fastest way to get to the product that you're looking for. Or it can tell you if something is on sale, or you can use a scanner and learn more about a product. Or if something is sold out, you can use a scanner and buy it online. Using the technology to improve your experience in store, it's super important. I don't think there is set or a standard shopping journey anymore. It used to be that people would search online, inform themselves online, and then go to the store. Other people would do the opposite. Right now, I mean, there's a multitude of ways in which there's no one journey. People can discover in one channel, get educated in another one, transact in another one, and then pick up or get it delivered in another one. So it's really all about making it easy for customers to buy in their own terms. So I don't think there's physical retail anymore. There's really omni-channel retail that some of the steps may happen in person.
Okay. A follow on to that, someone posted, do you see a shift from .com sales to in-app checkout?
In-app, I don't actually understand the question, because for us, in-app is still, it's part of .com, it's e-commerce. So if the question is, do I see more traffic or more revenue coming from the apps versus the desktop? For sure. I mean, that has been a trend for a long time, that more people are comfortable transacting, especially on native apps, but M-Web experiences have gotten better. I think the conversion rate used to be much lower, but the experiences are better. People feel like they can make decisions on apps and M-Web experiences better than they used to a few years ago. It used to be clunky. People would add to cart on mobile and then go to the desktop to check out, because putting your credit card was difficult, or like learning about the product. They wanted to see bigger pictures. I think it's I don't know that it's at parity, but it's getting better for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overall in-app experience has just gotten better in general.
Yeah.
And it's gotten much easier, and people have just gotten more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's driving a lot of the usage.
Yeah.
Last question for you, Cynthia, from the audience. How important is innovation to you as a marketer and to Walmart?
I mean, for us, and this is something that I've learned even more in this last role, it's without innovation, you're basically overpaying for eyeballs. Because when you are truly innovative, you don't have to pay for the impressions, right? Like I can tell you, we did last year we launched the drive-in. I don't know if you heard about it, but we converted our parking lots into movie theaters, drive-in movie theaters. And we didn't put a marketing campaign behind it. We just let the word of mouth do the talking. And the amount of impressions we got, and the amount of word of mouth impressions we got, like press and word of mouth, was something like I've never seen before. And that's one example. But I think if you do something that's truly innovative, then you really can break through the noise, because it's very hard to be noticed if you're gonna have to be paying the media prices every time you want to convey a message. So definitely being open to innovation. But one thing I do want to say is, my approach to innovation is not, I don't spend 100% of my budget on things that are innovative. And many people use this framework, which is like the 70-20-10. You spend 70% of your budget on things that are tried and true, and you know how much they're going to drive. 20% of your budget on things that you already tested before, but you want to test them at scale to see if actually they work the same way. And then 10% of your budget, just play with it, go wild, do something that can go totally wrong. And if it goes wrong, I mean, you experimented, you learned, and you're going to incorporate the learnings. But that's the approach that we take. We try to use some of our budget to do things that we are willing to lose that investment, not lose the learning, but lose that investment. I wouldn't do more than 10-20% on that for sure.
Well, that's good to know. I'm glad that there's still that spirit of let's just try something and take a risk. So that's definitely a really well calculated risk to take. And if it pays off tremendously. So as we close it out, Cynthia, what's your best advice for other marketers out there who have been struggling to either innovate, really make shifts or pivot during the pandemic, or just simply feel more ready for what's happening now in the environment?
I think think about how you create a culture where failing, it's not frowned upon, but it's actually, I think somebody said the other day, there's this concept of falling forward. Is that it?
Yes.
Falling forward?
Falling forward.
Falling forward, like you tried it, it didn't work. And instead of hiding and just creating a culture where people are showcasing their successes and hiding their failures, you celebrate the failures in a way that there's learnings behind it. So I think that's something that we all need to do more, so people are more willing to take risks. Don't just celebrate the wins.
Oh, wow. That's great advice for everyone out there. Well, it has been such a pleasure. As you know, I'm a huge Walmart fan. So, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens with Walmart Plus, and also just congratulations to you and just taking on this enormous task and leading the way for other marketers out there. But I definitely, I follow your advice. You know, I don't believe you ever really fail. You're either going to win or you're going to learn something. And I think for all marketers, that's really the lesson around readiness. Is it's about constantly learning and constantly pushing yourself forward. So thank you for joining us today, Cynthia. It is fantastic. Good to